Facebook family. How are you? We are so glad you joined us today for Crystal Loves Texas. So my partner in crime here is a little under the weather. So,
I'm under the weather. I just lost my
well,
voice.
well, yeah, she lost her voice. Yeah, she's not sick, but she wouldn't be in here if she was. So I'm going to kind of conduct this interview today. I cannot believe she's allowing me to do this because I don't do her justice. So, but I'm gonna do my
Yes, you
best.
do. Good.
I'm gonna do my best.
Yes.
So on today's show, we have. Well, thank you for tuning in. On today's show, we have a special guest for us today.
Applause track.
Woo!
That's our applause track.
So we have the incomparable, talented Miss Stacy Childs, who is here on behalf of this. Let me make sure I'm saying this right. This Texas Board of Education. So State Board of Education. I couldn't get it out, y'all. It's been a long
District
day.
4.
District 4 representative.
Yes.
So we're going to sit here and we're going to talk to her about the Bluebonnet curriculum, and we're going to also talk about some other amazing things that she is into.
Yes. And before we jump into that, Rebecca, let's ask Stacy if she can kind of define for us exactly what encompasses District 4.
Okay.
Yes.
So District 4 is primarily, oh, hi everybody. Happy to see y'all again. District 4 is primarily central Houston, some parts of southeast Houston that go down as far as Friendswood, Texas, and Galveston County,
Right.
and as far north as Humboldt.
Okay, what about Fort Bend?
No, so
No,
Fort Bend would not be in District 4. That would be
Okay.
District 7.
District 7. And how many districts do we have around the Houston area?
There are about 3. So District 6 is on the west side.
Okay.
District 7 is Pasadena, and it wraps around west to Fort Bend, and then District 4, which is my district,
Okay.
in Central Houston.
Okay.
Okay. So we gotta go. We're gonna dive into the questions that we have for
Dive
you. Hello. So my first questions are, can you tell us when the board began hearing serious conversation about the Bluebonnet learning curriculum being introduced for the State Board of Education consideration in Texas primary schools?
When did all this jump off?
Well, in last legislative,
Wait, before we get
Uh-huh.
into that, just really quick, just give the people a little summary of what you do. Because I
Yes.
think a
Yeah,
lot of
as the-
people
as the
don't
representative.
know what state board representatives do.
okay. So with the State Board of Education, our primary focus is instructional materials, standards. So if you go in the classroom and you see the objectives written on the board, we set the standards that teachers are supposed to abide by. We approve charter schools every year.
Okay.
Sometimes there are no charter schools approved. Sometimes there are about 4 or 5 approved a year. And we set high school graduation requirements. And we work with the SBEC, which is another team that helps with ed prep programs and teacher certification.
Okay. Now continue about the Bluebonnet. I just wanted everybody to know what she does.
I mean, a lot of
don't-
people say, "Why teachers can't get a raise?" I'm like, I don't want y'all to get a raise too. That's not in my job. You know, we have to go to the ledge for that.
Yes.
So I say, last legislative session, House Bill 1605 was passed. That was even before I got knee deep in the State Board of Education.
Right.
And a part of that passing was for the State Board of Education to create a list of high quality instructional materials.
Okay.
Part of that was
High quality.
Yes, high
Okay.
quality instructional
Okay.
materials. We're going to create the golden list.
Okay.
And a part of that list was going to be a state created set of materials.
Okay.
So the Texas Education Agency was charged through that House Bill 1605
Okay.
with creating a set of materials.
Okay.
However, even though they were charged with that, the State Board of Education still was able to vote on whether or not even the agency's materials were high quality.
Okay. And
Okay. Wow.
When you say they were charged with creating that, so they enlisted the help of curriculum writers, or how does
Yes.
that happen?
Yes.
Okay.
So the Texas Education Agency worked with some people named, some people not,
Okay.
to create this curriculum called Bluebonnet.
Mhm.
And they sent it to our desks to vote on whether or not Bluebonnet was going to be high quality.
Okay.
Okay.
So of course that
Okay.
was a lot of pressure on us.
Okay.
Of course. So, what are the vetting procedures that are utilized to ensure that any curriculum presented for consideration meets the guidelines for the state of Texas and moreover U.S. in terms of constitutionality?
It's good. Constitutionality.
We're
I
going
like how you
straight
put that.
there.
I
We're going
like how
straight
you put
there.
that.
Yes.
there are actually no guidelines to determine whether or not materials are constitutional or not, or they're abided by the U.S. Constitution. I think a parent or a student or a teacher would have to challenge a book or challenge some materials to find out if it's constitutional. But
Okay, I'm glad
Wow.
you said that. Can you say that one more time for all of the teachers out there
yeah,
who may not like curriculums that's coming out of the state? Can you
Uh-huh.
say that one more time for them?
so you have your right to sue the Commissioner of Education, the State Board of Education, the Texas Education Agency, a vendor, another vendor, if you feel like what they're providing is not constitutional. Whether or not you'll be successful depends on a judge of said court that you plan to sue. But
I,
that is the proper recourse if you're trying to
okay.
find that something is constitutional.
I've got a quick question before Rebecca goes on. Stacy, so this is what I wanted to know. Obviously, when Bluebonnet hits the schools,
Mhm.
our and your associate Isaiah and I were talking about this just a few minutes ago. Houston is supposedly the most diverse city in the country now.
It is number one.
Okay, if that is the case, and I'm not, let's say hypothetically, and it would probably be very, very difficult for Bluebonnet to get into Houston, but maybe not now, but let's say 2 years ago. Okay, with that being the case, with us having so much diversity, how can we not expect immediately to have that pushback from parents?
Mm. I don't think pushback stops people. I mean, how far? I guess it depends on how far parents are willing to go. If they're willing to protest, I think we can withstand protest. I think people are okay with withstanding protest. We've seen that in Houston,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
We There have been groups that have been protesting certain people, certain things, certain changes, and as of today, nothing has changed. So, I mean,
Okay.
I guess let me go on to say the State Board of Education has 15 districts. Houston is just one of them.
Yeah,
Right.
Although I wish my voice was the loudest voice, it's
right.
not, right? So sometimes I may say, hey, Houston is diverse, Houston is diverse. This doesn't represent all of the students
Yeah,
in Houston. My voice is not the same as people from, let's say, West Texas or North
right,
Texas or in
right.
a suburban area or an area where parents might be asking for this, where
Exactly.
parents might be saying the discipline is not going well at the school, and I think a Bible curriculum might help that, right? So you got to consider all of the voices in the room, all of the votes in
Yeah,
the room,
yeah.
not just mine. And sometimes mine can get drowned out.
Yes,
That's why you have to pay close attention to who your representatives are.
Yeah, and pay close attention to what's going on. Because unless something like this comes down the pike, then we don't, for the most part, a lot of times people aren't, don't even care. You don't hear of, when was the last time you saw someone, let's just be honest, who looks like you, myself, and Rebecca, present a curriculum to be considered? You understand what I mean? Or even someone who may look like another diverse group present something to be considered. How do we know? I I got to shut up because my voice is starting to hurt.
I'm
Yeah, but I
one.
But
think I
I'm
think
kind of
we're
passionate
unique
about
because
this.
we were taught to care, right? So yeah, it's easy for us to say, man, people don't care. I wish they just cared more.
Yeah,
But either our parents or a special teacher or a mentor or somebody instilled that
yeah,
care in us. They told us this is what you should be thinking about. For the majority of my constituents, sometimes they do care. They just don't know what to care about, right? They just don't know what's going on,
and
right?
they
So
And
don't know
that
what to
it's an
do.
awareness piece
and
that
I
it's
Yes,
think
like,
so. And I think sometimes just being in Houston, sometimes I think a lot of Houstonians, including myself, forget we're not the only city in Texas.
I know. I
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yeah,
Houston's
so
like that.
yeah, so it's just like, if you don't care about Houston, how dare you? You don't care about the state of Texas. But it's
We have the most people, right?
Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, because my phone is
that's okay.
you iPhone people.
Stacy is.
I'm
Go ahead.
telling you, you got green bubbles
I
over
do. I
there.
do. Unfortunately, well, fortunately for me. So when is the proposal? No, I need to back up because I need to add something a little bit more pertinent.
Okay.
Um, What are the vetting procedures that are utilized to ensure any curriculum presented for consideration? Oh, I just did that one.
Number three.
But I
Number
didn't talk about the fact that for high quality instructional materials, we created a new process to determine if books were going to be on a high quality list.
Okay.
So we
Yes.
have these
What is that?
we have these rubrics,
Yes.
and we chose people, we chose experts to be on this vetting committee, and they use our rubrics to actually put the materials on the list.
How are the experts chosen?
They're chosen by the State Board of Education.
Okay.
So they
So if
submit.
I want to be an expert, I am a 20-year veteran teacher,
Mhm.
and I have a degree in journalism,
Mhm.
and I have sat on a lot of boards of directors of different nonprofit organizations, and I want to be considered as a veteran. How would I do that?
You can. So you go to the Texas Education Agency's website.
Okay.
Go to IMRA, which is Instructional Materials Review and
Mhm.
Appraisal Process, and then you look for the application, complete the application,
Okay.
submit your resume, and then go through the other steps. So you
Okay.
have to have an interview, and then the agency will rank all of the applications.
Okay.
One being the top applicants, two being almost there, and three being
Okay.
they're good, but they're at the bottom of the list.
Right.
And then they'll submit those rankings to the board members, including myself, and I'll approve the list as it is, or I can manipulate the list
Make adjustments.
if I think it should be changed, and then we select it.
Okay. And Stacy, just out of curiosity, and then I'm gonna let Rebecca get back to her list. But just out of curiosity, um, was everyone around the table pretty satisfied with that vetting committee?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think
good, good.
There
good.
was there were one or two people that I wanted to make the list that didn't make the list,
Okay,
but
for the
my
most part.
yeah, for the most part, the veterans were excellent. They were
Good,
good. Some of the
good.
people that I wanted to see on this didn't make it, but
Okay.
I also don't want to ruffle feathers with the people at the agency, because
Right.
the people that work for the agency are the experts. Honestly,
Exactly.
we are the public facing entity,
Right.
so I listen to the constituents, I listen to the people, but the people that work for the agency, most of them have been working 5, 10, 20 years.
Yes.
They know every little nuance as to what's going on.
Exactly.
So usually what they say is good.
They know what's going on.
Not always, but usually what they say is good.
Okay.
Considering that you even work in education yourself.
Yeah.
So, is this the first time that this type of curriculum has been introduced for consideration to the State Board of Education? And what about PragerU?
Oh, okay. This
Yeah.
high quality instructional materials process is new. So this is the first time we've
Okay.
done this, where we hired vetters, we created rubrics.
I didn't know that.
I
The
didn't know that
vetters
either.
selected if the vetters decided if the materials were suitable or not. This is a completely new process. This
Okay.
is the first time we've done it. We've had open education resources on the agency's website all along that were free online,
Right.
but this high quality list that's attached to like monies, and then
Yes.
the agency creating its own materials, which has the most money attached to it. This is completely new. And you asked about PragerU.
Mhm.
Yes. And the reason we put that in there is because we know this time last year, we're looking at the little clips of
Mhm.
Christopher Columbus and
And
all
I
of
was
this kind
like,
of thing.
absolutely
And,
not.
and these were the kind of, and some of this came before the board last year with a different curriculum.
PragerU was interesting because they actually jumped the gun. They knew that this process that I'm explaining was coming down the pipeline.
Of course
Okay.
So
they did.
instead of waiting and going through the steps, they talked with one board member and said, "Hey, can we get approved? Can we just say that we're going to be a part of Texas, I guess, to help with their publicity?"
Right.
And then all of a sudden, all the other board members are like, "Wait a minute, we haven't even started the review
Yeah,
process yet. What do
yeah.
you mean you're coming to Texas?"
Yeah.
So they would have been a part of this full cycle of IMRA and high quality instructional materials review, but they just jumped the gun. And I mean, if you look at their materials, it shows that they don't really take the time to actually get into what they're doing.
So,
Right,
so what
because
you're
How they
saying,
handle it
I
makes sense.
because
Okay.
I personally reviewed PragerU because I heard so much
Oh, yeah.
controversy on it, and I was like, okay, well, let me see what it's about, because I don't want to jump on the hype train, and I don't, and it is not what it is. And
Right.
You saw when
boy,
they said that
it,
it was better for slaves to be
and not
slaves,
just that,
at least they weren't murdered.
yeah, it was a lot of stuff.
So we can safely say that at this time, PragerU's off the table.
Yes.
Oh,
They actually didn't submit. They actually did not
Okay.
submit after all that happened.
okay,
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 They
wonderful.
bowed out ungracefully.
okay.
I'm sure. Um, Okay, so it's our understanding that the attached understanding that to attach Bluebonnet learning curriculum, there will be a $50 per student year incentive to adopt and utilize the learning materials with fidelity. I cannot stand that word. Will teachers be allowed to pick and choose which parts of the curriculum they would like to utilize? Or will they be allowed to incorporate a standard curriculum in parts that they feel uncomfortable
Oh, so actually, there's a $60 incentive per
Okay.
student
Okay.
attached to Bluebonnet curriculum.
Okay.
I would say, yeah, I guess a teacher could pick and choose what parts of the curriculum they wanted to teach, but that would be rather difficult for a teacher to do, in my opinion. If this is supposed to be high quality, then it should be high quality as it is. And if a teacher has to continue to supplement, that's defeats the purpose of everything you just did. The House Bill 1605 was written so that teachers don't have to do that. So they don't have to go on Teachers Pay Teachers, the internet, and pull and piecemeal stuff together. They're supposed to take the instructional materials we selected and say, hey, this is good enough to get your students there. So,
Okay. Okay. And Bluebonnet is part of that that's been selected.
yes,
Okay. If Bluebonnet is part of that that's been
barely, but yes.
okay. Now, um, if that is the case, and Rebecca brought up an excellent point last week. She said, and it's something that didn't cross my mind, but she said, okay, I am a believer,
Okay.
and I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want non believers teaching my children about the Bible because
Ditto.
they can be condescending with it.
Right,
They can be, a lot of things can be going on with
right.
that. When you start to roll this out into a public school arena, how are the teachers? I mean, will every teacher, let's say that my district adopts Bluebonnet.
Mhm.
So every history teacher or ELA teacher in that district is going to be teaching. I teach next door to a Muslim
Mhm.
person, and I
I
teach,
did too.
yeah, and I teach next door to a person who is a Hindu person. Okay, and they're teaching from the Bluebonnet curriculum
or a
too.
teacher who have no faith at all, who don't believe in
Yeah,
anything.
yeah. So how can you make that teacher teach that? Will the teacher's job be in jeopardy if they don't? Is there going to be an alternative that is provided for parents that don't want their student to be there? I might be jumping the gun,
No, no,
but
no,
so
you're
many
not.
questions.
Um, so the commissioner was very intentional about putting some letters and putting some guides in the materials for teachers that aren't necessarily Christian or that may feel uncomfortable
Mhm.
to help assuage some issues that they may have if they
Okay.
have to teach that. But I think there still might be issues. It's up to the teacher to supplement in the event that they don't feel comfortable teaching something. It's up
Yeah.
to the parent to pull a child out of a lesson, and it might be a lot of lessons, right? But it's up
Yes,
to the
that's the
parent to do that.
thing. Yeah.
And in terms of job jeopardy, I think that would depend on the school leader at the campus, right? The principal or even the superintendent of said district, how far they want
Yeah.
to take that. I would be very shocked this early in the game if a
Yeah.
superintendent or a principal were to fire a teacher because they opted out of some of the Christian lessons. I mean, that's just.
And
But that's why I voted against Bluebonnet, right?
yeah.
Even though
Yeah.
I think
I'll
Bluebonnet
say
is.
that one more time so your
Oh
constituents can
yeah,
hear that.
Yeah.
yeah. That's
Hey,
why.
Tiffany.
Hey
Mhm.
Tiffany, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I voted against Bluebonnet because of that, right?
Yeah.
I think Bluebonnet is good. I think it has some ways to go, but I think it's good. But I don't want teachers to have to supplement in the event that they don't feel comfortable. I don't want students who are not Christian, who are Christian and just don't want to learn in a public school setting about Christianity.
Right.
I don't want them to have to be subjected to that. I don't want a teacher's job to be in jeopardy in the event to say, "Hey, I'm not teaching those lessons," or I don't want them to
And
say that they were being insubordinate, right? And
and
then lawsuits come, etc.,
right.
etc.
Right.
It seems
Right.
like the floodgates will open. These are
Yes.
some of the
Yes.
things I was kind of mentioning on the dais a few weeks ago, but
Right. And what were some of the responses that you how are some of your colleagues kind of fielding some of those questions?
a lot of my colleagues were quiet.
Hmm. But
There
but
was one
but
colleague that said they just think that the parts of Christianity that were in the materials are more cultural. They aren't really talking about the
no.
faith itself, but just from more of a historical basis. in a
So
cultural basis,
Here's my
more for
thing.
educational purposes.
Here's my thing. And I've
excuse
mentioned
me.
this to Crystal 1,000 times and other history teachers because we're in group chats all the time, and the Bluebonnet curriculum has everybody in an uproar, and I'm
Oh,
not even gonna lie about that.
okay.
Like the
In a bad
groups,
way.
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Oh my
very
gosh.
negative.
Yeah.
And what I what I'm hearing and what I'm feeling personally,
Mhm.
we already teach religion. We teach the fundamentals, and I've mentioned this last week.
In world
we
cultures. Yeah.
we from 6th grade to 12th grade, even in the elementary level, we teach fundamentals of religion, everybody's religion,
Hmm.
in history. And then the farther you go up in history, most, I'm not going to say most, but about a third of the curriculums for 6th grade all the way through 12th grade has a religious component.
Right.
Why are we doing
But
this?
that's the smoking gun. You said 6th through 12th grade, where kids are a little bit more understanding. They're
Right.
more mature. They can clap back if something you say conflicts with what they're learning at
Right.
home. For kindergartners, I mean, what you say is gold. What you say as
They
the
believe
teacher and the leader
everything.
in the
Yeah.
classroom
Yeah,
is
but
true.
then they go home and tell their parents, "Oh, this is what I learned today."
Right.
And then the parents are not going. But that's what I'm saying. It just, to me, and I understand what everybody's uproar is. I from the believer standpoint to the non-Christian
Uh-huh.
standpoint, I understand what everybody's believer concerns are. But did the state, and I might be asking a very rhetorical question, but did the state take in consideration that any of this was going to happen?
Yeah. So we in September and November we heard about 400 testifiers across the
Mhm.
two meetings,
Right.
and there were a lot of people against Bluebonnet, but there were a lot of people actually for it. There were pastors coming, there were parents coming, and I know you're looking like, how? Sway? There are, I mean, there was even somebody from Sunnyside that came and was like, we need prayer in the schools, we need Bluebonnet in the schools. This is why our students are failing. This is
That
why
ain't
they
why,
lacking.
but
So
it's not
imagine where I sit, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm seeing somebody from Sunnyside come and say, "Hey, yeah, we want this," but I'm
one
hearing from
person.
we got one person, exactly. Numbers matter,
Right.
but I'm hearing from everybody else is like, "No, don't bring this," right? But it was if I had to estimate, probably 51 to 52% of people were against it, and the other half
Wow.
were for.
Okay. Well,
In terms of the testifiers and the people that came across the state.
yeah. Let me ask you this. Now, one thing that you touched on this a little bit. Um, if parents in most school districts, parents are allowed to come and sit in a class, okay,
Yeah.
where the student is, except for
Mm-hmm.
HISD. Okay, now, well, they can. That's just a fact. I'm just stating a fact.
No,
Okay,
no.
but
Funny
most of the
fact.
times, parents can, and I invite my parents to come in so that they can see what
I
their
have
students
to.
are learning. And if a parent comes in, and I happen to be, I'm in an adjacent district now, to HISD. But if a parent comes in and and let's say hypothetically, I am teaching from the Bluebonnet curriculum.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm teaching what, a 5th grade, teaching from the Bluebonnet curriculum, and I say something that is contrary to what their faith teaches their student. At any point, is that district going to be compelled to have to provide a teacher in another classroom, providing a standard curriculum for those kids whose parents do not want them to be a part of this particular being taught this curriculum.
No.
But
And when we were in the creation phase of Blue
mhm,
Bonnet, we asked for alternatives. Can you have paired lessons where if some parent doesn't like the one on Daniel and the Lion's Den or the Golden Rule or
mhm.
Jesus and the Crucifixion, can you have a paired lesson that doesn't have anything to do with religion? And that fell on deaf ears.
Wait a minute. So there are. I mean, you're opening my eyes to a lot because any of us have heard right now is sort of bits and pieces of what Blue Bonnet is. So
We haven't even
there's
seen the curriculum.
yeah.
It's when
So
that's online. Now I have to give the
okay,
agency their credit.
okay,
It's
Okay.
been online all
good.
year.
Okay, good.
There were about 2,700 revisions done to it
Okay,
this year. A lot of comments taken from the public. They didn't revise everything that the public asked for.
Okay.
Isaiah and I even submitted 200 of our own revisions. They
Okay.
didn't accept all of ours, but they accepted a good majority of
Oh,
them.
y'all did 250.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the first time about 120, and then we submitted more along the way. Yeah, about 30
So,
pages of revisions.
so there won't necessarily be an alternative provided for that student.
Uh, a district could create one, a teacher could create one, but will a district be compelled by because of a parent's request? No.
Okay.
That has not been carved out yet. But remember,
Okay.
this is the first year of this process.
Right. Right.
Next year, or I guess in the 2026-27 school year, if we see that that's necessary, I'm sure that the agency would consider it, implement it, revise it. But this House Bill 1605 EMER process is in its first year of iteration, and right now, no, that is not available.
Okay. You know, in my little intro uh, today that I posted, I said, "Is this the tip of the iceberg?" And Rebecca's next question, I'm sure everybody is waiting to see if this, if elementary school or primary school is the tip of the iceberg. So what's next? What can we expect
What do you
coming
mean? What
down
do you
the
mean by
pipe?
the tip of the iceberg?
What they happen in secondary?
Secondary.
Mm-mm.
Mm. Oh.
Okay, yeah. So
Oh.
six through
Oh.
Bluebonnet is coming 6th through 12th grade, right? So we're charged with creating high quality instructional materials for every subject,
Right.
every
Right.
grade, but we're doing it a subject and a grade at a time. So yeah, there's more Bluebonnet. I don't know. I just look. We've been talking a lot about the negative aspects of Bluebonnet,
Yes.
but I encourage the parents, the teachers, you all
Look at
to look at
themselves.
it. Yeah, because you will see some of our own words in there.
Because the thing about it is
I think we
when we don't see it,
concerned.
when we don't know,
Mhm.
and we have just heard.
You hear the sound bites, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, I think that you're absolutely right in that parents need to. It's there for us to see,
It is.
and I know that Stacy's going to provide us with a link, a link,
Because I will start looking at that tonight.
Yeah.
yeah, so that we can see it, and so that parents can see exactly what Bluebonnet is all about, and it may not be as bad as some people think. It may not be like she said. If districts or teachers want to go in and supplement some aspects of it that may, if their campuses allow them or district allows them to do that. But Stacy, then we are held to the accountability of STAR testing.
Hmm. Talk about it.
And I've elected for my student to not be a part of that Bluebonnet curriculum. And I've gotten another curriculum at home that I want my student to do. And um, will my students be at a deficit because they did not? Is that going to be? Are these Bluebonnet uh, uh, passages going to be on the STAR test?
Uh, no.
Perhaps.
Perhaps, but I want to say no. I think
Okay.
that question was asked on the dice a couple of weeks ago, and we landed on no. I mean, I think that's unfair of one vendor, even if it's the agency, to get to take their materials and put it on the STAR test. I mean, if that was the case, then everybody would choose Bluebonnet. That would get rid of like the competition. It wouldn't even be no need for competition. So, as it stands, no, I don't think that those materials would be on the STAR test.
And I think a lot of teachers feel so strongly about this, especially educators, because we actually look in these babies' faces every day.
Right.
And we know their attitudes, we know their dispositions, we know what triggers them.
Mm-hmm.
And the state don't know that per se. Like you said, you're the public face, but we're in these rooms.
That's fair.
And I don't think any of these things have been taken into consideration with actual people who are going to be presenting these lessons to these children.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's where my frustration with the state is
That's why you
coming.
got to come testify. Like Common said, that's why you got to come testify. We did have a lot of we had some teachers from another district come and testify about a pilot where they piloted the Bluebonnet
Okay.
materials, and they actually liked it. And these were people that look like you and me, right? So it's interesting to hear what you're saying today. But when I was in Austin, I was looking at the faces of people that were like, "Yeah, bring it," because
Yeah,
some of the dissenting voices weren't there.
right.
And I think for a lot of board members, they listen to who's in the room at the time, and if that voice is louder, then
But Stacy, let me say this. I teach in a district that's right on the cusp of A-Leaf. And
well,
we
that's the like the most diverse area
exactly,
in Houston.
exactly, right on the cusp of A-Leaf. And I know in A-Leaf alone, one of our guests and one of our good friends, Mika, who
Mm-hmm.
is here a lot with us, she said that when she was in high school, and I believe Mika was in high school in the 90s,
Early
in
90s.
the early 90s, that there were 91 different languages spoken in that district just at that time. So we can imagine what it is
Right.
now.
Mhm.
So we can go over into Third Ward or Sunnyside or McGregor
Mhm.
or Fifth Ward, and I could very well see that sentiment echoed because historically we're all going to be of a certain faith, maybe not a certain religion, but of a certain faith.
Mhm.
Historically,
Mhm.
most of those people are of the Christian faith,
Mhm.
so you're not going to get a lot of pushback there.
Right.
But if you walk this into A Leaf and you have um, 10 different faiths and even subsets of faith, like
Right.
Rebecca
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
was talking about last week, um, it may be a different thing. And you have um, social organizations that represent these different nationalities that probably are even more up in arms than me. Now, I'm not gonna say I'm up in arms, but I need to
Oh,
have
I am.
the clarification. I want to read first. I like to read for
So
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so is when did you guys find out about Bluebonnet, and like how would it help? I guess for me being your representative, I'm
yeah,
assuming one of you,
You're
both of you
mine.
live
yeah.
live in my district.
I do too. I
How would
live in
it? When
Houston.
did you guys get the information? How would it be better to receive the information so that you can kind of let your voice be heard before it's too late, like before, because there's gonna be more coming.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
That's what I was. That's one
Mhm.
of the questions we want to
Yeah.
go ahead and get to because, you know, if and Rebecca, if you could go to the next question that we wanted to ask, number 8, that's something that I want Stacy to really think about because I know that now that Bluebonnet has been adopted,
Yeah,
some
because I'm,
other things are coming around.
yeah, and
Well, Bluebonnet is on the list, so that still requires every individual district to choose Bluebonnet.
Okay, got you.
So right now, it's new, and in the next school year, a superintendent can go in their budget and they'll see the list of materials. If they want Bluebonnet, they can drop down, click Bluebonnet, and select the materials that they want.
Okay,
And start the next school year.
okay.
There could, I mean, technically, maybe every district in Texas could say, "We see it on the list, but we don't want it."
Mhm.
The
Okay.
likelihood of that happening is zero
Yeah.
Right.
because they have the best financial incentive by choosing you.
Well, now on the news, I was just listening to the news.
Uh-huh.
They said some of these other vendors, the Houghton Mifflins, some of the other uh, standard vendors
Mhm.
will pay up to, I think maybe they were the ones that were up to $150 for the adoption of their materials. That's not the case.
No, the agency's materials, you'll get the best financial incentive if you choose the agency's materials.
Okay,
And it's only a $20 difference,
okay.
right?
I
So if I
just,
choose the Amplify, right? If I choose the Amplify material,
Mhm.
um, it'll be $40 a student for that material. If I choose the
Okay.
agency's materials, which is Bluebonnet, I'll get $60 a kid for those materials.
When you say
For
the
the
agency,
printing of those materials,
when you say the agency, we're talking about this.
Bluebonnet. Mhm.
Okay,
The agency's materials are called Bluebonnet. Bluebonnet Learning.
okay.
okay,
So hypothetically speaking, if there is a group who has written in a educationally accurate curriculum, I love
Mhm.
how you put that, which
Mhm.
utilizes standard historically valid information, but is written utilizing the tenets of Buddhism, Judaism, Islam, or another culturally diverse belief system. Will the
State board.
state board, what is
Mhm.
wrong with me today?
Mhm.
The State Board of Education also be willing to vet and accept this curriculum to be considered for use in Texas schools?
Yes. Yes.
So no one is discouraged.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
So a vendor can go through the emerald process, and as long as you do everything the agency tells you to do about submitting your materials on time, you can do it. Will you get approved?
Yeah,
We'll
that's
see.
yeah, okay. Okay.
Um, because there's a rubric for whether or not your materials are high quality, they're free from factual errors and things like that, and a rubric for if the materials are suitable. There are some vendors that might say, is this passage on Buddhism or Hinduism or Islam, is this suitable for a kindergartner? The irony, right? The
Yeah.
irony, I
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
What?
The irony, I know.
This is the
Yeah, but
hypocrisy
you
for
you can go
me.
through the same process that Bluebonnet went through, and it will be up to the State Board of Education to say yes or no to your material. I actually welcome that.
Mhm.
I
Yes.
think that would be
Yes.
very interesting to see.
Because now you've opened up a floodgate.
Right.
And I'm wondering again if the state of Texas even took that in consideration. Rhetorically, I don't think so, but but I'm just because now you've opened a floodgate now. So
Well, they say that America, the United States, the Union, whatever, was founded on "In God We Trust" and founded on yes, people were seeking religious freedom, but the first debate, the great debate, was based on prayer, and prayer was at every presidential meeting, and they went to God when they were making decisions
Yeah.
about abolishing slavery or
Right.
you know going to war. God was in everything. So from a historical standpoint, they're saying this is Christianity, and God was
Judeo-Christian belief
literally
system.
what the
Yes.
country was founded on,
well,
Yes.
and
actually,
the
the
document
Constitution
said.
freedom from religion, well, freedom of religion. So yeah, that okay. Let me be quiet.
No,
But
go ahead. No,
No. No.
go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
no, the actual what it says in the actual document is freedom of religion.
Right.
So that did not necessarily mean the way the document is actually written. I know what they were trying to say, but that's not what it says in black and white. So that means in the United States of America, I'm free to worship God, or like I tell my students all the time, I'm free to worship a golden rat if I choose to.
And people would say that they're not taking away your ability to worship. You're still free to religion how you religion, but that doesn't take away from the fact that our country was founded on.
A Judeo-Christian.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying I don't agree with you, but
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
telling you this is what I've
What
been
the
hearing
argument
for
is going
all
to be. Yeah.
2024. This has been my all
Yeah.
2024 for
Yeah.
me.
yeah.
Yeah.
So as an attorney, okay, as an attorney, can you give us an idea of exactly how we got to this place and ended up with the curriculum actually on the table for consideration, given the slippery slope, and we just talked about that, of perceived unconstitutionality of an entire topic,
Perceive.
i.e., church and
Mm-hmm.
separation
Separation of church.
of church and state.
I've been hearing all year, we're not constitutional lawyers. We're not constitutional lawyers. We think it's fine. We
Yet
think
you
it's fine.
implement something that you.
And I myself, I'm not a constitutional
Yeah.
lawyer, but I know that separation of church and state is a
It's
separation,
basic. Yeah.
right? And for small children, I don't see how you can talk about God over three or Christianity over 300 times and still say church is separate from state. I
Right.
don't see how
Right.
you do that.
Right.
But there are other people that see it different from me, and those voices are louder in the state board of education room right now.
My gosh. Do you foresee the constitutionality of the Bluebonnet learning curriculum being introduced as a standard in some Texas public schools, being challenged on a higher level in the state or the nation?
Yeah, I think that the ACLU might sue them. I think there'll be other groups that will sue. I think there'll be parents that are in uproar about some of the lessons,
Right.
especially the crucifixion of Jesus. Like that's real
That's in
sacred.
there.
TEA, go to
Oh,
We gotta
TEA.gov.
make
wait,
sure.
wait.
Go to
We gonna let you plug it. We gonna let you plug
yeah.
it in just a
Okay,
second.
okay.
We gonna let you.
Yes,
Whoa. Whoa. Okay.
loosely, but yes, there. I think that there'll be parents that will likely file lawsuits because of that.
Okay.
Whether they'll be successful or not, we'll see. But
Hmm.
Can the public petition? Did we skip that? Yes, I did.
Oh. Oh
Oh,
no.
we
You
just
talking? Yeah.
yeah, we talked about that. Can the public petition the State Board of Education? Oh, I got it right tonight. Yay. Okay, State Board of Education on behalf of their school districts if they feel that their rights or the rights of their children are being diminished.
sure, you absolutely can. I think you should. I mean, if it gets to that point. I
Mm.
mean, if you feel like children should not have Bluebonnet in their classrooms, and you feel like parents are in uproar, and you see that it's not really being as high quality as we said it would be, you're not welcome.
Stace,
I'm so sorry. She's
I
in the
got
hot
to, I
seat
got, I
No,
got to.
I mean
tonight.
that's
No,
okay.
no,
That's
we need
okay.
to ask all these questions because people have come to us with these
Yeah,
questions.
I mean there are people that
Yeah.
think like to be a good American, there are certain biblical references
Right.
that every American should know. And how does every American learn those references that are used in our everyday speech?
Okay.
I'm really not trying to
Yeah.
be funny. I'm just, I
Yeah.
mean,
I
you
bet.
know,
Yeah, I bet
Okay,
you
so then
definitely
my
heard
and
it.
question.
I can admit that there are certain references that I probably still don't understand because I didn't learn about the Bible in public school. I learned
Right.
about it at church,
Well,
right? So
let me ask you this, Stacey.
Oh, because I got a question.
Can we see? And I know we are quickly running out of time, but can we see Bluebonnet? Um, if a district adopts the Bluebonnet curriculum, will there be a Bluebonnet curriculum for ELA and one for history and one for? How can you put Bluebonnet in math? But I bet you they'll figure out a way.
oh well, there is. So we
Jesus had
adopted-
12 disciples.
How many disciples
Three
did
died.
Jesus have?
How many did he have left?
That was actually good.
Yes.
Actually, Bluebonnet does have a math component, and it was voted on a couple of weeks ago too. And I actually voted
Wow.
yes for that.
Wow.
Yeah. So that I mean, the only thing that's really controversial now is the elementary ELA
Oh, really?
because of the multiple references to Christianity and the Christian Bible.
Okay.
The math curriculum is good, so I voted yes for it.
Okay. So where can we go to look at the Bluebonnet curriculum?
Yes.
Yes. You can go to TEA, like T, sip your tea.texas.gov, and
Okay.
type in Bluebonnet, and it'll come up. You'll see where it started, and you can even see where it ended after all the revisions. It should
Okay.
be nice to see how it unfolded over the course of the year.
Okay.
You
so,
can even see who submitted comments. You can see
Okay.
which comments were accepted, which ones were rejected. You can see why they were rejected. In terms of that small piece, they were very
Right.
transparent about that part.
okay. So what is, and maybe again, I'm asking a lot of rhetoricals tonight, but what is the whole motive behind this? What is the
To give
motive?
students high quality instruction.
So Stacy, so what you're saying to me, and I'm saying
I
this,
told you, like
I
back to not
thought
to,
my
to
question
your
was
point,
pretty
right?
legitimate.
but
No, to back to your
think
point.
yeah,
There are people that believe that you have to have some
reference,
knowledge
yeah.
of the Bible. You don't have to believe in the Bible necessarily, but you have to have some reference of the Bible to be a fluent speaker, fluent reader, and just a smart American in 2020
Okay,
because of how our United States is.
but here's the thing too, Stacy, and we could y'all know we could go all night with this
I
you know,
just-
talking about
I-
this.
I mean,
But-
I would like. I mean, how does that make you feel? Like, I see you having a visceral reaction, but like, how
yeah,
does that?
it's
how-
very visceral.
yeah,
I'm
how
trying
does
to
it? What
keep
is
my
it?
language
What's
really
coming up for
limited.
you when I say that?
It, you cannot legislate people's morals, point blank, period.
Okay.
And I feel like that's what the legislature
Mhm.
is trying to do.
Mhm.
Belief is personal. And I'm a Sunday school teacher, so I sit on both sides of the track, mind you.
Mhm.
From Genesis to Revelation, God did not force Himself on nobody.
Right.
It was either for you to accept or reject.
Right.
He loved you either way, right? So I just don't
We're
understand.
not forcing that.
No,
if a parent doesn't want their child,
it's not
to
a
do
force,
lessons,
but
then
it shouldn't
they'll sit
even
out.
be there in the first place.
Wait.
We've been doing great without it, as far as just
Now some people would object
Some
to
people
that.
would. So yeah, I think
Some
that's
people
why
would object to that.
House Bill 1605 was written, according to what I've heard, because I wasn't in it.
oh,
Well,
okay.
It's because Texas historically has not been doing great when it comes to reading. Math is declining. So
And it's
that's
not
why this
gonna help.
process was created.
Well, I got one last question to ask you, Stacy.
Okay. Oh,
Okay, that's my drum roll.
okay.
I came through a Christian school, for school, okay? And we learned from standard curriculum, okay? And I think my education was high quality. So can we now foresee corporal punishment being put back into school?
Hello, spare the reward, spoil the child. That's in the word.
Ooh.
Ooh,
That's scripture.
Ooh.
So
I'm just
Ooh.
wondering if that too is coming down. What do you
I
think?
pray to God not.
Yeah.
I haven't heard about any legislation regarding corporal punishment coming out. I would
Okay.
hope not.
but I'm sure it's coming.
But I just feel I want to encourage people that are listening. I want to encourage you all. Come testify. Come speak out.
And
You can testify on
yes.
Tuesdays during board meetings. We have 5 a year. You can testify on Fridays. On Tuesdays, you have to come testify about the posted items. You can look at the agenda and see
Okay.
what's posted.
Okay.
And then on Friday, you can come and talk about education more generally and
Okay.
testify.
I
The
think
chair
we're
will
gonna
hear
make
you.
that. We're gonna
There
do
are
that.
vendors listening, lobbyists listening, the commissioners listening, even though they may not be in the room, they're listening online. All of the board members will be there, we're listening. And there are some people that come testify every single meeting.
So y'all need some new faces.
But not just that, but it's like there are some people that understand their agency, right? It's like,
Yes.
no, I have
Yes.
the power. I'm going to use my voice. You're going to hear me today, right? And if imagine if everybody in Houston did that.
Absolutely.
We have the most people in
Right.
the state of Texas in the
Yes.
city, and the least people come to Texas.
I'm glad.
I have qualms with that.
Yes.
And
I
Yes.
take
that's
issue with
real.
that.
That's
Yeah.
real.
I take
That's
issue
real.
with
That's
that
real talk.
because I think part of our platform is to let people know what the SBLE is,
Yes.
to let people know what's going on. And if you have issues with what's going on in Houston ISD, what's going on in the state board, if you have issues with Bluebonnet, where were y'all?
Oh, y'all.
Not you
Everybody
two,
heard that.
but like
Everybody heard that.
come,
Yeah.
come, come. We're here. And if I need to do a better job of like getting the word out, I promise I will.
Well.
But yeah, we have quiet. I can't be the only one speaking on that.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah.
That's
So
true.
I'm just
Well, Stacy Childs,
gonna say.
thank you so much for coming and peeling the layers back a
Sure.
little bit for us.
Thank
And
you for
actually,
sitting in the
and,
hot seat.
Yeah.
yes, and actually putting the ball back in our
Our
lap
court, right?
because we have to do our own due diligence. And people, Stacy is saying that it's there for us to see. Nothing is hidden. It's out there for us to see. And if we have objections to it, she's saying there's a way for us to uh,
That's right.
bring those objections to people who are the decision makers.
That's right.
Stacy, we're going to ask you back
Please come,
because
please.
we got to ask about vouchers.
Oh,
Oh,
they're coming.
I know, I
They're
know, I
coming.
know. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for Rebecca. Why don't you see us out?
Are you sure?
Yeah, positive.
Okay, thank you everybody for tuning in. I want to thank Stacy again for coming, and we will have her back when vouchers coming up. When we have the voucher conversation coming up. Also, I want to say this: Texas legislative session is going to be starting in January. Please go to if you can make it. Please try to go to legislative session and testify before your people that you voted for, your representatives. Okay, this is what it's there for. So, with all of that being said, we thank you for coming. Thank you for sitting in the hot
Yeah.
seat.
And like we say every week,
We can do
do
it.
it.
Bye,
Thank
guys.